blowing simple, liberal minds with every idea. Critical thinking is his specialty. Dillon Atkins.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, how you doing? I'm doing great. Doing really great. I am Dillon Atkins. You can always get a hold of me at dillonforamerica@gmail.com. I'm sure that'll show up on the screen. I would guess probably twice during this. One at the beginning and one at the end. All right. First of all, I want to clear something up. I want to clear something up that's been bothering me for a while. And it's not a petty little thing. It's not a one of those "oh, shut up" kind of things. It's a real issue, I think, in America now. And what it is people bickering with each other on what is right and what is right. I know that sounds weird. I know it really does. But let's see. Okay, we have one group of people saying that it's racist to think that Obama's not been a good president because they're claiming, well, you're saying that because he's black. Okay, well, then you have a group of people saying no, it's because his policies are terrible. And of course there are going to be a group of people that say, well, yeah, it's because he's black, but let's just disregard them, they're stupid. But let's look at something here. We have conservative people, we have Republican people, we have Democratic people, independent people, and liberals. Now, obviously, those kind of change, or not change, but cross each other. They kind of, you might have a Democrat that's a liberal, you might have a Republican that's a liberal, you might have a Libertarian that's a liberal, you might have a all that kind of stuff. Now, my thing is, I am a conservative. I am somebody who I believe that I don't care what party you are. If you can fix the mess we're in, if you believe in what the Founding Fathers intended for this country, get your butt in gear and fix it. But having said that, let's see. Let's look at. We have people who are African American, black politicians, and people who are just prominent in culture, Dr. Ben Carson being one of those, and the people in the African American community look at them and they say, well, you're an Uncle Tom, you're not, I heard one say, well, you're not black enough. And I don't understand why. I don't understand this. I don't get it. You know what I mean? I don't understand why this is even a discussion, okay? You're looking at it as a race issue. It is not. It has been made into one, and you have been made to believe it is one, but it is not one. What it is a political issue, a power issue. An ego issue, greed. It's an issue that has nothing to do with color of skin. Nothing. Most people think that somebody like me, a Christian, conservative, Southern person, they think, well, you must be racist, anti-gay, and we don't want any part of that. You want to keep the poor poor, the rich rich, and that's it. And here's the issue. Here's my issue with that, because I have actually been called those, or people have said those things about me. And let me clarify something here. And I said this on Facebook one day to a lady who commented on something I posted. First of all, I'm not racist. I've said it in, I think it was the last podcast I did, that Dr. Ben Carson is my number one pick. If he would run for president, which I have signed a petition, by the way, asking him to run, I would vote for him. He is excellent. Excellent. Now, second thing is anti-gay. I am somebody who believes in America, somebody who believes in what the Founding Fathers intended. Every man created equal. I believe every man, woman and woman, are created equal. I believe that in America we have the freedoms to believe in what we want to believe, and how you want to live, what you want to believe, all that. So to say that I'm racist, anti-gay, want to keep the poor poor and the rich rich, I think is, how do I put this nicely? Uneducated, a premature determination based on someone that you don't even know, and basically call me a liar, and yet again you don't know me, so how would you know? Now let's see here. Like I said, Dr. Ben Carson is my number one pick. Second, I'm not anti-gay. I believe in your right to live however the heck you want to live. 2, I don't want to keep the poor poor and the rich rich. I want to let the rich people be rich and teach the poor people how to be rich. I want everybody to be rich. But I also know that it takes work. I know that it takes hard work, dedication, determination, and you better get your butt in gear if you want it. And that is how it is done. You don't get it by having things handed to you. You get it by getting out there, working for it. You're working late, getting up early, and doing it all day until you figure out how to get it done. This is America. It's a land of opportunity. You don't have any promises here except for the promise of opportunity. But you have a promise of opportunity, which means that now you don't have a promise that you'll be successful. You don't have a promise that everything will be okay. But you have a promise of an opportunity to make it that way. If you work, if you try, if you dedicate yourself to doing that. So see, this is where I don't understand. I understand that there are going to be people, oh dear Lord, there are going to be poor people who say, well, I'm a conservative Christian and he's terrible because he's black. Well, I'm sorry, but whoever thinks that, first of all, you're not a real conservative. You're not a Christian, because if you are a Christian, you need to open up a Bible maybe, dust it off because clearly it has not been read in a while, and read it, because you obviously have no knowledge of it. If you demean any human being, if you think any human being is beneath you, I don't care how much power or money you have or how little you have, if you think any human being is beneath you, then you clearly have no perspective on what the Word of God says and what basic human principles are. All men created equal. When I say men, I include women in that too. Every human being is created equal. There are some parts of the world that say they are not. Those parts of the world are underdeveloped, uneducated, and they need to get their act together. But here in America, we believe that every person is created equal. And if you don't believe that and you live here, then either A, keep it to yourself, B, change your mindset, or C, get out. Because that's not what this country is about. We've been led to believe it is lately, but it is not. Our founding fathers founded this country from nothing. They didn't find it how it is. They built it from wood. They built it from fields. They built it from mountains. They sculpted it. They nurtured it. They fed it. They raised it. Are we going to let their work, are we going to let what they did be in vain? Or are we going to rise up and actually say, no, I'm not going to let this happen to the country that my ancestors built? Even if your ancestors were not some that came over here and helped found this country, even people who came over here during World War II. And Matt, look at all of the technological advances we've had since World War II. Those are your ancestors because they knew they could work for it and get it. Are you going to shame them by doing anything less? Or are you going to actually stand up and take responsibility for yourself? and make something happen. See, when you do that, when you actually take responsibility and say, I'm going to go out here and make this happen, I'm going to make something of me, you know what? Things don't offend you. Then they turn, when someone says something that just gets down in your skin, when most people cry out, well, that's offensive, you shouldn't be allowed to say that anymore. Instead, you take that criticism, quote unquote, if you want to call it that, you take that and you turn it into fuel. Somebody who cries out, that offends me. When anybody says something that doesn't go along with, Sharia law. We'll just say that because that is something that does not need to be here. That is something that kills people. But let's just use that as an example. If somebody like, me, said that it shouldn't be allowed here, and someone says, well, that offends me, that hurts my religious feelings, that person has nothing to do. They're bored, and they want to be heard. But if they had a dedication, if they said, I'm not going to let my generation be the one that fails our ancestors, when that happens, guess what? If they would actually go after something in their personal life, not out in society or whatever, in their personal life, a personal goal, I want to become a millionaire, let's just say, just for instance, and they're willing to work for that, not steal it. Let's get that straight. Never do that. But if they were willing to work hard, start a business or something, whatever, nurture it, feed it, grow it, and they had that, you know what that would do? You know what, when someone says you can't do something, it turns into fuel. It turns into something that makes you think, yes, I can. You want to see me do it? Watch. I'll prove you wrong. My dad taught me that when I was growing up. You never let someone discourage you. Instead, let their discouragement fuel your dedication to being successful at it. So that 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, whatever it may be, 2 years, I don't know, however long it is, you can come back to them and say, look what I did. I built that. Look what I did. You know what that's called? It's called drive. And I think it's something that we're losing. It's called drive. It's called a purpose. It's called pride. Not pride in that, well, I'm perfect and, when someone says something bad towards me, well, it hurts my feelings because, I'm perfect. I'm so prideful that everything hurts my feelings. Instead, it's pride in what you want to become. It's pride in what you are. See, when you have pride in what you do, when you're striving for something, when you know that there's something bigger than you that you were supposed to be working on, and you're going after that, you're not offended anymore. You don't get your feelings hurt anymore. You build things. You make things. You succeed in things. You create things. You nurture. You found things. See, that's what the founding fathers did. They were sick and tired of having people tell them they can't practice that certain religion there. They can't do this. They can't do that. So they said, well, fine. We'll go do it ourselves then if you don't want us here. Well, all right. Well, let's go see if you can do that. Fine. We will. And they did. Welcome to America, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we do. In America, when somebody tells us we can't do something that we want to do, we do it just to prove them wrong. In America, when someone says that can't be done, not anything against us personally, but they say that is impossible to do, we find a way to do it. In America, we make greatness. In America, we are supposed to have purpose. Our founding fathers agreed that it was all men were created equal. Yes, they had slaves. Guess what? We don't anymore. Thank God. That's immoral and it should have never happened, but the fact is it did. Now how about instead of looking at our past and saying, how dare y'all have done that to us, how about we look to the future and say, why don't we try to make it better? Instead of dwelling on the freaking past. I'm all about history. I love history. History is my favorite subject in school. I still love history. I still study it. American history, world history. I'm pretty sure I said American history. Histy. I meant history. Anyway, world history, World War II, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. I studied all of these things. I still do. I love it. Not that I love war, but I love history. I think it's awesome. I think it's great to see a place now compared to what it was. Great example of that would be Hiroshima. We bombed it at the end of World War II. Everybody knows that. I hope anyway. If you don't, you live here. Good God help you. And at the end of World War II, we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Hiroshima now is one of the biggest cities. I mean, it is enormous. It is beautiful. It is lit up. It is bright. They got skyscrapers. It's beautiful. I saw a picture of it not long ago, a couple days ago, and it is magnificent. You know why? Because instead of looking back, instead of the generations following that bombing, instead of them saying, well, look at what they did to us. Look at this. And they dwell on that. You know where they'd be right now? Probably where they were after we bombed them. You know, just a pile of dirt. But instead, they decided to make a difference. They decided to say, well, we'll show them. And they built a magnificent city right there where we bombed it. I'm not saying they didn't forget. I'm not saying we should forget what happened to us. But I am saying that we use that as fuel, and not in a bad way. We use that as fuel to say, well, you know what? We're going to make a bridge where our ancestors, your side of the tracks and mine, refused to. We're going to make a bridge, and we're going to make a friendship where they would not. Because we learn from mistakes. We don't dwell on them. This is America. We learn. We build. And it is time we get back to that. It is time we decide, and it's time we make a decision. Are we going to dwell on the past and say everything offends us, or are we going to decide to step up, look to the future, and strive to make ourselves better? Because if we are going to decide to sit down and just pout in our own self-pity, then we should just give up everything now. But if we are going to decide to stand up, look at the horizon, at the future, at what we can achieve, at how we can be better than our ancestors were, then that is what we need to do, and we need to do it now. The race issue across any race, I don't care if it's black, white, Asian, I don't care. Any race. Saying that anything is done because of a racist thought or whatever. Yeah, it happens every now and then. But you know what? It is not the primary driving force anymore. It's time we stop dwelling in the past. And it's time we decide to look to the future and actually do something. And how sad is it to sit there and talk about how my ancestors were this and my ancestors were that? How about you say, look at what I am. Look what I can be. And when you're on your deathbed and people are looking at you, and if you actually achieve something in your life, they're looking at you with respect. You can look at them and say, look at what I've done. And you look at your kids, great-grandkids, or kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, you look at them and you say, now go and make it better. Build on what I built. I built a foundation. It's your time to build the house. It's time we build. It's time we show the world, and it's time we show our ancestors that the mistakes they made, we will not. It's time to show the world that we can be better. It's time to show the world that everything they've said about us lately, that we're weak, that we're this, that we're that, is wrong. See, the government may be weak, but the people, we can still be strong. And I think we are. It's time to prove the world wrong. The government says you can't think for yourself. It's time to prove them wrong. The government says you didn't build that. It's time you prove them wrong. Because we are America, and that is what we do.